Hello learners, the topic for today is Unit 6 in the course MGPE 009, in which we will be talking about debates on the nature of the state. This particular unit has been divided into two parts, and this particular video will be the first part. I'm Dr. Shubhangi Vaidya from the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies at IGNOU. The aims and objectives of this lecture are basically to understand the nature of the modern state and also to discuss the conception of Hegel regarding the state. So let's begin by asking the fundamental question, what is a state? State is a central concept in political theory, and it is the pivot around which politics revolves. The word state is derived from Latin, which means a situation or a condition of being. Machiavelli, the famous Italian statesperson, is the first to have used the term, but he did not clearly define what he meant by the term state. The term state is used to convey a historical or philosophical idea, an eternal form of political community, which is a specifically modern phenomenon, according to Forsyth. So, this concept of state, or the notion of state, which is so very important and so much a part of contemporary political discourses, is a specifically modern phenomenon, and this is something that we have to keep in mind. A state is defined as a political entity that possesses people, territory, a government, and sovereignty. A government is a concrete reality of the state, whereas the term state itself is an abstraction. So really, what manifests as the state? It is the government. Governments change structurally and can be removed without entailing a change in the state itself. So the state will endure, but different governments will come and go. What is the government? The government is the policy deciding body that makes, declares and enforces laws. However, we must bear in mind, like we've mentioned, state is a modern concept, and many studies in history and anthropology reveal that stateless societies do exist. However, this doesn't mean that there is no government or there is no governance in such societies. The state is basically a modern phenomenon. However, all societies have some form of regulation, some kinds of means of governing them, which differ from culture to culture and from historical period to historical period. So bear in mind that the state and society are two distinct concepts. They cannot be subsumed or they cannot be substituted for each other. Let's talk about administration and government. An administration is a set of persons and bodies that work under the direction of the government to discharge the ordinary public services. So while the government is the political executive, the administration is the permanent executive. So governments may come and go, but the people who actually discharge administrative functions, the administrators, they are relatively permanent because the work that they do is independent of who is or isn't in government. Furthermore, the modern state is highly differentiated, specialized, and complex, and it upholds the difference between the private and the public space. So this whole notion of private life or the private space being in a sense something that the state cannot intrude upon or the state does not have rights over is a very, very important concept. And increasingly in modern life, we are seeing that this kind of blurring between the private and the public space is creating some tensions and some problems and creating some legal issues as well. Let's talk about a very, very important concept associated with the state, and that is sovereignty. We always speak about the state in terms of sovereign states. As a modern phenomenon, the state develops with sovereignty as its distinguishing trait. And the concept of sovereignty reinforces the public-private divide and also between one body politic and another. So the notion of the sovereign state as being an entity, a body politic in itself, is something which really is at the core of modern statehood. Along with the idea of sovereignty, and partly in opposition to it, we have another idea that distinguishes the state as a modern phenomenon, namely the idea that it is the people as a single entity who rightly decide and constitute the form of rule within the body politic. So here you have a bit of a dilemma or a bit of a contradiction between the people and the state. So while the state is really constituted by the people, the state also exerts controls over people. So this kind of an oppositional idea of the state and the people is something that is very much a part of the discourses and discussions on the idea of state. Let's build upon this and discuss the role of citizens. So what is it about the state and the citizens that we need to really talk about? The American and the French revolutions that established representative institutions also developed the idea that the proper end or the proper goal of the state is primarily the protection of the rights of the individual. So here you have it, the tension between the rights of the individual and the controlling power of the state. The emphasis, for instance, of the American Revolution was on the pursuit of happiness. And the French Revolution gave us these very, very important ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The state, as a modern phenomenon, thus may be defined as the institutional representation of the people's will, enabling it to act effectively in both the normal and extreme situation to secure the defense and the welfare of the whole and the rights of the parts, together with this very activity itself. This is a quote by Fawcett. So the state then is basically an institution which represents the will of the people and acts on behalf of the people. However, it is also tasked with the responsibility of protecting the welfare and the freedoms of the people who constitute it. According to Skinner, the political apparatuses of the modern state are distinct from both rulers and ruled, with supreme jurisdiction over a demarcated territorial area, backed by a claim to a monopoly of coercive power and enjoying a minimum level of support or loyalty from their citizens. So note that without the support or without the loyalty of citizens, it becomes very difficult for the contemporary state to discharge its functions. Let's now discuss the nature of the modern state as articulated by the famous philosopher Hegel. According to Hegel, the state represents universal altruism, synthesizing dialectically the elements within the family and the civil society. It functions in a manner that the interests of everyone are furthered and enhanced. And according to him, it represents the universal tendencies within the civil society, thus giving rise to the notion of citizenship. According to Hegel, it is absolutely rational, that is, the state is absolutely rational, with a substantive will realizing itself through history, and therefore it is eternal. To quote Hegel, this substantive unity was its own motive and absolute end. In this end, freedom attained its highest right. This end had the highest right over the individual, whose highest duty, in turn, is to be a member of the state. So basically, to simplify it, Hegel perceives the state as an end in itself. It is mind realizing itself through history. Hegel emphasizes the public nature of the state, but does not distinguish between the private and the public spheres. He also speaks of the indispensability of the state, as individual qualities and potentialities of the good life can be realized only through the state. According to him, it is divine will in the sense that it is mind present on earth, unfolding itself to be the actual shape and organization of the world. According to Hegel, the state is the most sublime of human institutions, the final culmination which embodies both mind and spirit, deriving its strength from a synthesis of the individual interest with that of the state. And according to him, if there is a conflict between the two, the citizen would identify with the state rather than pursue his or her own interests. In other words, as per Hegel's formulation, the state is the individual writ large. What does Hegel have to say about law? What is his notion of the law? According to him, the rule of law is one of the key formulations. His famous work, The Philosophy of Right, in 1821, acknowledged this. He does not see law as a hindrance to freedom, but as a characteristic of freedom. So, this is a very important thing to understand. On the one hand, you may think of laws, you may think of rules and regulations laid down by the state as being some kind of a hindrance or some kind of an obstacle to human freedom. However, Hegel did not see it as a hindrance, but as a characteristic. Because we are free, because human beings are free, they have laws which govern them. He looks at it in the wide sense as one of the instruments for realizing social cohesion that reflects ethical values which govern cultural life. So laws basically help to keep society together, to help society to cohere. And in this holistic concept of Hegel, justice is linked to the institutional ordering of the entire society. Law, according to Hegel, is also linked to positive legal justice. The emphasis on the conventional principles of law makes Hegel to reject a conception of higher or natural law, for modern civil codes are becoming more rational and more public. And he asserts that commands and orders are specified purposes for identified people. He does not look at the commanding aspect or the aspect of command and control, whereas the ambit of the law is much wider than just commands and orders. It addresses a larger and unknown audience, and it is equally applicable to all who operate within its jurisdiction. Command is always from a superior to an inferior, while the sanction of law is its rational authority. He rejects the ancient notion, as exemplified by Aristotle, for example, of the purpose of law being the realization of human excellence or the full development of human capacities, and leaves it to the individual's private discretion. In contrast, the modern rule of law consists of a few necessary features that are common to all and is established by the rationality of free individuals. So laws have to be impersonal, rational, intelligent, and written for people to conform and consent. What does Hegel have to say about bureaucracy? According to him, bureaucracy is the universal class. That is, it forms a very, very important part or a very, very important component of the Hegelian state because of its commitment to impartiality. Now, in our day-to-day life, we always look upon bureaucracy as something that hinders, something that is not designed for the most effective outcomes. However, the real understanding of bureaucracy in a modern society basically frees modern societies of certain compulsions of birth, certain compulsions of family. It is something which is supposed to be impartial. So unlike the other groups of civil society, which are primarily interested in their own progression of business or their own interests, the civil services perform the function or perform the service of supervising the entire societal apparatus, which Hegel calls the public business. So as per his formulation, a civil servant is not there to promote his own work or his own business. He or she is there to look after the public business, the functioning of the various institutions of society. And this class of people will not be recruited from the nobility. So this is not based on birth, this is not based on certain other factors like what family you hail from, but rather from the modern middle class, which symbolizes the consciousness of right and the developed intelligence of the mass of the people. And it is for this reason that it becomes the pillar of the state, so far as honesty and intelligence are concerned. It is knowledge and proof of ability and not heredity that is the criterion for recruitment. The constitutional state, according to Hegel, retains its independence from its ruling groups by mechanisms of free institutions and a civil service. The state is not the personal property of an individual or a group, and institutional constraints define and limit the power of governments which do not depend upon the virtues of statesmen or citizens. This is because modern constitutionalism is suspicious of the abilities of person in power to control their passions and to prevent abuse of power by the rulers. And that is why rule of law and not rule of men reflect the concerns of modern societies, enabling the modern constitutional state to act impartially. The civil service, like Plato's guardians, has the interests of the commonwealth in mind. And Hegel is categorical that the bureaucracy shall be open to all citizens on the basis of ability and citizenship. They shall have fixed salaries so that they can resist the temptations of civil society. Let's now discuss Hegel's views on monarchy. For Hegel, the monarchy is a functional requirement of the modern constitution based upon separation and division of powers. He goes to the extent of saying that the division of power guarantees freedom. He differentiates between the doctrine of the separation of powers from his own innovative theory of inward differentiation of constitutional powers, dismissing the former as a false doctrine, as it supports total autonomy and independence of each functioning category. His model portrays all these categories as mutually supporting aspects of the same totality. And his major or his most important concern is to find a method that secures the unity and the integrity of the state. He prescribes legally differentiated spheres for the crown, the executive, and the legislative bodies, each cooperating with the other to guarantee freedom to its citizens. Interdependence and harmony of the three important branches are the preconditions of continuance of the sovereign state, with the monarchy at the apex or at the top, signifying this unity. And Hegel opposes the idea of an elected monarchy or the American style of president, for even though it may express the popular will, it still represents a small portion of the constitution, whereas the monarch embodies, in Hegel's view, the whole constitution. His defense of monarchy has to be understood on the basis of his philosophical framework to find out rational arrangements within the existing institutions. So basically, Hegel was not interested in finding a philosophic ruler like Plato, nor was he trying to depict a future based on human emancipation with a framework of true democracy like Marx did, when Marx spoke about the withering away of the state. Hegel's conception was based on the assumption that the real is rational and that the immediate present and not the future is the real concern. And his conception influenced British idealist schools in the later part of the 19th century, especially in the writings of Bosanquet, who exalted or who really highlighted the importance of state authority. To sum up Hegel's vision of the state, he considers the state as a supreme community because of its comprehensive membership and competence as compared to other associations. It is not only physically supreme, but also morally preeminent among all the social institutions that came before it. And it is necessarily right, and its opinion will prevail when there is a conflict between the opinion of the state and the opinion of a citizen. These are very, very important ideas which have a relevance in the contemporary period also, and which we need to think about in an analytic and careful way. In the next lecture, on the same theme, we will discuss some more important debates on the state. Thank you.